Hello, welcome to Working Dragon Mystic, where we discuss real, metaphysical, and occult knowledge so that you can manifest real and tangible results in your life. This week, continuing with our Norse Magic series, we're going to be discussing the Hammer Rite, so stay tuned. Okay, so this week we're going to be discussing the Hammer Rite, what it is, what it's used for, and we're actually going to demo a run through of it. Okay, so what is the Hammer Rite? Well, the Hammer Rite is a ritual set to start off most Norse practices and events, bloat rites, or just some people use it to even set space for magic. Some people do compare it to Wiccan circle casting, which I do understand the comparison. And to be honest with you, the earliest mention of the Hammer Rite that I've been able to find is in a book called Futhark by Edred Thorson. And it's a handbook on rune magic. Now, beyond that, I can't find any earlier mentions of it, and most people I talk to agree that that is the first mention of it. But even though we can't nail down whether or not that is the true origins of it, everyone I talk to does seem to agree that it is indeed a modern ritual and there's no old sources for it. But that's okay, because as we discussed in our introduction video, most of Norse magic, if not all of it, that we utilize today is reconstruction based on just the simple fact there's not a lot of info to go on to start with. So, with that said, often I get the question, is there any use in using the Hammer Rite? Really, I leave that up to personal choice. Now, I do use it sometimes. I do find out that it pulls in those energies that the Norse current works with really well. And I do believe that's because it is associated with Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, which I'm probably mispronouncing. And many practitioners will have a ceremony hammer of some kind. Now, when I did a pathworking in Norse magic, they required me to have one. This here is my ceremonial hammer. It is a real hammer, but it does the job. I have engraved the name Mjolnir on it, and I have engraved the name Thor on it. Mainly just so I didn't stick it back in the garage and forget. But like any energetic tool, it is set aside for ceremonial uses. I don't always use it. Do you need a hammer to do this ritual? No. Oftentimes, like with any other energy work, you can just use your fingers in this ritual. Some people will just use their fist because then at least you have the shape of the hammer and you can do the same thing. Whichever way you find works best is perfectly fine. To be honest with you, most of the time when I do this rite, I'm out in the woods. We're carrying a big old hammer like this. I think this is 5-8 pound hammer, maybe 10. But this is not practical to put in my bag at all as far as I go hiking. So this doesn't go with me. So I do more often than not do the ritual without the hammer than I do with it. So you really do have to just make that decision and call on your own. A lot of people enjoy ritual tools, and for that reason, it is great to have something like this. Now, when I was doing the pathworking insisted that we make one, so I did, because when I do pathworkings, I keep with them as close as I can. And this is a nice reminder to keep in my ritual room of that time I spent with that pathworking. And I do still use it from time to time. Exactly what is the Hammer Rite and what does it do? Well, many people I talk to says it just sets the space aside as a general opening of the working. It doesn't actually create a circle or anything because people can move in and out of the area as they want, whereas most traditional rituals that set up a circle or a space, you're not supposed to enter or leave once it's set. That is one way that this ritual does differ. There are people who still give it the traditional rules, but more often than not, it just sets the whole area aside for the event at hand. Now, there are 3 versions of this ritual. One, you do a calling to the north, and you do a calling to the south. That is the simplest of the rituals. The second, you will do a calling to the 4 quarters. that is, that's probably the middle grade, I would say. And then the final one, which is normally viewed as the full ritual, you do a calling to the 4 quarters, and then you do a calling up and down. So you do as above as below. So when we say a calling, what is it we're doing in calling? So when we say a calling, what is it that we're doing or calling? Well, unlike many other rituals where you may call in a god or a goddess at the different quarters and positions, or calling in the elements, in this ritual, no, it's a lot simpler. You're actually just asking for protection of that particular area. And we'll go ahead and do a full read through of the ritual before we demo it, so you'll know what I'm talking about here. So, performing the Hammer Rite. Most people will start this ritual facing north, but I've done some testing. Any direction you can utilize will work. You don't have to face north, though north is considered the more traditional. Hold up the ritual Melnorn or your fist. Hold it slightly in front of your head. Make the sign of the hammer an inverted T by bringing your fist down in a straight line until it's in front of you. Then move it from left to right of your body whilst you are doing this. So what we're talking about here, and it's probably going to be a little bit reversed on camera, is you'll hold your hand up like this in front of you, and you're going to come down, and then you're going to come left and right, making that inverted T. A lot of people don't like this rite because it's a little too reminiscent to them for the Catholic cross. But it's just an inverted T, and there's no need to worry about that. But as you're doing this, as you're making that sign of the hammer, you will say, "Hammer in the north, hallow and hold this sacred stead." And some people will use holy stead. And stead like in homestead. Now when you've done that, you want to visualize a bluish white light in that position. It doesn't have to take any shape or anything, just a bluish white light is what everyone says to envision. Me personally, I actually try to envision that when I do that sign of the hammer, I'm actually drawing a hammer in the air there, but that's just me. At that point, you want to move clockwise so that now you're facing east. And you will repeat. So it'd be hammer in the east, hallow and hold this holy stead. And again, as you make that sign of the hammer, when you say this, you're going to be visualizing that blue-white light, or like I said, a bluish-white energetic hammer. And you will do this for all 4 quarters, just changing the direction as you continue around clockwise. And I will make sure there's a type up of this, the wording I use below the video. Now, once you finish the western hammer, and you're facing north again. So after that, you're going to turn and you're going to face north again. Now we get to the above and below, where it differs slightly. As you turn, you want to visualize that space being completed, and you're facing north. So that is important. Make sure you are visualizing the completion of that space. The entirety of the area now should be shrouded in that energetic glow. And then from there, you'll look up above you, and the way I usually do it is I'll do it like this, so I'm actually kind of drawing the T up and in front of me like that. Which again, I will be demoing this. And as you're drawing it, you would say hammer over me, or hammer above me, whichever you prefer. Hallow and hold this holy stead. Again, you're going to visualize that energetic hammer drawn in front of you as you do it. Then you're going to look down and hammer under me, hallow and hold this holy stead. And again, what I do this time is I just look down and I draw the hammer at my feet. And again, you want to visualize that energetic hammer as you draw it. And you want to see it appear on the ground below you. At that point, you'd place your hand over your heart as such, and you would say, "In Asgard and Midgard, thank you for protecting this hallow stead and holding this space." Now this ritual, like any other, is helping to get you into the mindset and helping to pull in the energies that you're looking to work with. So be mindful of that as you do this ritual, and you'll be good to go. Alright? So I tell you what, let's move into the other room where I do have more room that I can actually demo this ritual, and I'll see you back here afterwards. Okay, so we moved down here to where I have more room to shoot and show you the ritual. So let's go ahead and do this, okay? Now, if you don't say everything exactly to script, that's okay. Just get it as close to you as you can, and honestly, a little bit from the heart's always a good thing if you ask me. So here we go. Relax, take a few deep breaths before you get started. Hammer in the north, hallow and hold this holy stead. Hammer in the east, hallow and hold this holy stead. Hammer in the south, hallow and hold this holy stead. Hammer in the west, hallow and hold this holy stead. Hammer above me, hallow and hold this holy stead. Hammer below me, hallow and hold this holy stead. In me, Midgard and Asgard. Thank you, Hammer, for holding this holy stead. Okay, now that's it. That is it. That is the totality of the ritual. I always never felt really good with the ending, so occasionally I'll just at the end, after the hammer, thank you for hallowing and holding this holy stead, I'll throw in hail, 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 just at least to kind of punctuate it, because many of the Norse rituals that are written, not in the EAST, but by other people, they do kind of punctuate them with that. So at least it kind of gives me that feeling of an end. I don't know, that last sentence just never did it for me. But you can use it either way. I'll make sure it's listed as optional in the text below. So with that, I'll see you back upstairs in the office. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that demonstration. I know it's a very quick ritual. It almost seems like it wouldn't do nothing. That was my first thoughts when I first saw it. But I was mistaken, and it did do a wonderful job. And it does set an area to do your workings very well. Now, I will say this. There are many, many versions of it out there if you go to looking. If you find one you like, utilize it, use it. That's if you even choose to use it. Some choose not to. There's a lot of people who practice Norse magic. They never set space at all. And actually, I'm one of those people sometimes. Sometimes I set the space if I'm looking for something to feel more formal. Other times, I just sit down and do my workings. Edward Thorson's version of the Hammer Rite does differ from the common version that I've found most often, and the one I've come to be most comfortable with. Now, if you are interested in his exact ritual, I do know that you can find it in his book, Futhark, A Handbook to Runic Magic. The cover's not the greatest. It's bright, although I've seen some that are really gorgeous. This one just, I don't know, it's bright orange. But I do like it when I'm out camping, because I can see this anywhere. This is a pretty good little book, and I will make sure there's a link to it below. Those are affiliate links, so yeah. But I will make sure there's a link to this below, so if you want to check it out, you can. Now, I know, like I said before, not everyone uses this particular ritual. But I knew as soon as I mentioned it in the first video that I'd have to cover it. before I got into the other stuff, because inevitably if I mention a ritual, you guys ask me all about them. So I wanted to make sure to cover this before we get into some of the other runic workings, so that if you choose to use this ritual, you will have it available to you. Another thing, if you've never done a ritual like this, give it a try a few times. See what you think about it. It's always good to try new things. Now, with that said, if you have any questions, drop them below. I'll do my best to answer them. Also, we do a live stream every Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Research and Ramblings of a Mage. I talk about the research I got going on, what I've been doing, stuff like that, as well as take everyone's questions live right there in stream to do the best that I can to answer them and connect and help you all in your practice. And of course, Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Magical Coffee Hour with the Linda from Caffeine and Chaos. That one, we just sit back, we have fun. She throws questions at me. I do my best to answer them. And once she's asked all the questions she wants to ask, we also take questions from viewers. That's a lot of fun, so join us over there as well. Also, feel free to check out the Working Dragon Mystic merch shop at workingdragonmystic.com. We have our classes up there as well as the merch. All that goes to supporting this channel and keep the content you all enjoy coming. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you receive notifications anytime we release a new video or go live. And if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, show your appreciation. It really helps the channel out a lot. And with that, I'm Drake. This has been Working Dragon Mystic, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.